RFF2023.co.uk. We've got loads of different names, but what matters right now is that we are back. We've got another interview at the Romford Film Festival. We are still inside Romford, and it's great to be here. How are you today? We are talking to director Matt West of a movie called A Moment Ago.
I'm very good, thank you. It's all very good to be here.
Just trying to remember every film we've watched, and I've got it written there. So I mean, you'd think I was better, but yeah, you're back in Romford. Why would you come back?
I mean, there's some really good films on there. I did watch some of the one of the shorts screenings, and just the quality is just a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah,
so it's nice to see what else is kind of going on and what else is out there, and interesting to see what's being selected, because I think that's always a litmus test of what's going on in the world. It's like what stories resonate at any given point. So
it's funny because I think we've always quite prided ourselves, because obviously there's 4 of us on the selections, and then it goes on to like the jury panel, and there's like 6 of them, I think. But we always kind of like pride ourselves on, we're so different, and everybody's so different. We all choose different things. But this year, there's quite a lot of similar movies.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, I think it's where everyone's head's at right now, and it's good though. We've got some brilliant, like powerful, thought-provoking, but often hopeful movies, which is what I like. I like that. And
well, I think that's what's great about shorts in particular. Features obviously can tell what's going on in the world very well, but I think because of the time it takes to make them, I think shorts nail it even more so, because there's so much quicker turnaround, and they can be so relevant to right this second almost. As you say, like even the films I just saw, like there was a definite sorrow in some of them. You come out feeling like, oh crikey, but
it's been an afternoon for it.
Yeah, but that's the world we're living at the moment. But as you say, like there was hope. It wasn't all end of the world.
So we're going to get onto your short in a quick second, but first of all, I want to get to know Matt a little bit more. I want to know your journey into filmmaking, why you would want to be a director, because it's not an easy craft, and just why you do what you do.
I mean, I've come from maybe not the most obvious direction to it. Like, I've never done film school. I never kind of, as a kid, didn't have money to have cameras or anything like that. So I kind of made films in my head in a way, like I without actually having the camera, or I only really clocked this over the last few years, where I held like binoculars in a way where it was like it was a camera, and I was making many little films out of it, but it was all just in my head kind of thing. And that's what I was doing as a kid. And then I only really realized, films are something I could make much later, because then at university I did visual communication course, which is a very broad kind of applied visual communications, so stuff that could be very commercially based. So I did graphic design. They had illustration there, and when they gave you a brief, if you wanted to make a film for it, an animation for it, code a website for it, make a book for it, you kind of could. So it's up to you how you wanted to sort of explore that particular project. I made some films, I made some animations, I did a lot of graphic design, and then I graduated pre-YouTube existed. So in like 2005. So in my mind, the only way to get into film was, as much as I wanted to, and I was making films at uni and end of school, I couldn't see the career path. I couldn't see how I could do it. And university wasn't the way to do it, because you went and became a runner. The people I did know who were doing it sort of just stopped everything young and just did running, and then grew from there. So I just saw the career path for graphic designers. That's what I did first of all, and I did that for a good sort of 8 or 9 years. But got senior enough that I was writing briefs and meeting clients, and then I was at an agency which was kind of a mixture of design and also interiors. So we were creating big spaces, and at that point, screens were getting everywhere. So I wrote in a brief, you need content. And thankfully, I was at that point. I've got to say, I wasn't doing any. It's not that I wasn't doing any film stuff. I was making music videos, and I was making for friends' bands or whatever, and I was making little shorts and things. And that was just a very personal thing I was doing for myself. Nothing really big design. And then I kind of got very lucky that a boss said, he was one of these bosses at an agency that didn't ever want to say no to a client, or say somebody else can do that. He was like, well, we don't do film, but you've made film in the back in your person's home. And it was like, well, why don't you make it? And then I think the very first thing I made was a film with Gordon Ramsay. So it's like a really weird, but it was because it was like one of his restaurants or something. So it's like it's a weird kind of way in. And then once I started doing that for that company, I never wanted to design again. I realized like I must have been okay at design because I made it fairly decent in career, but I just didn't enjoy it and I hated doing it. And I didn't like getting up in the morning to go to it. Like, you know, you get that cloud in the head.
Yeah.
The second I started making films, and whether it be holding camera or whether it be actually just art directing or directing or whatever, I was like, this is what I'm going to be doing. And it was just such a clarity and like, I want to get up in the morning and go do it. So it's so like, it's nice.
Well, it sounds like it was filmmaking's kind of an amalgamation of everything you were previously good at, and you've just been able to apply it in every aspect.
Yeah, and I think I really like the fact that I went the route of design first, because I think it taught me things that maybe, not that you don't get any other direction, but I think it definitely opened my eyes up in a different way. One, commercially, how to do things. Problem solving is a big thing as a designer, and I think when you're problem solving in film, I don't feel phased that, oh, I haven't got budget for this. No, there's probably another way around it. That's my way of thinking. There's normally another way of doing something, and even like things like, obviously the big part of filmmaking is once you've made it, you need to make it look sexy and market it and stuff. So doing the typography and the website and the posts and stuff, like
second nature.
That's fine. So I don't need to pay someone for it. I can do it myself.
The bit that everyone hates.
Yeah, and I love that bit. But the thing is, I love designing for myself, just not for anyone else.
No, I get that. I totally get that. So let's talk a little bit about a moment ago. 6 minutes of unflinching, powerful storytelling, very, very personal storytelling as well. And we'll get into that a little bit. But what does this movie mean to you, and why did you want to do it now?
I mean, so the origins of it is from the film has a poem that goes along the background, and that poem was written after I was in a 17-year relationship and marriage, and that ended. And after divorce, there's just this, especially when you're with somebody for so long, like any breakup's harrowing, but that long was, it gives you a kick in the stomach. And then it was my way of processing it. I'd never written poetry before in my life, other than what you do at school. Like, I've never really tried any of that. I don't really consider myself a writer. I write so I can make films. I'm not the best of writers, but I write it so I've got something to make. And then I just started writing poetry as a way to process that. Got to say, the first version of that poem I wrote was very outward, hateful, attacking. And then I kept on revisiting it for probably 2 years. I had it on my phone, I had it in a notebook, and I was just crossing out and rewriting it. And I don't know, it's not exactly my normal process. So it's strange that I did that, but it just felt right that it changed and it evolved, and eventually it became very introspective. And it's now got it's not very much to do with anyone external. It's just my journey and like the things I can control and the things about me. And again, but I wrote it without any thought of making a film out of it. It was just literally just to write poetry. And then 2 years after everything, I just sort of started thinking, see some kind of imagery to this. There could be a visual story in this as well. And I sort of put pen to paper and started making a screenplay for it. And first time I did that, I tried to make the poem become dialogue in the film, actual spoken word on screen, and it just felt shoehorned and didn't feel quite right. So I ended up going back to being a voiceover and more his inner dialogue kind of thing. So that's kind of the origins, which kind of answers, I suppose, the question of like why I did it, because it was, for starters, it was just pure cathartic. It was just something to kind of actually get my story out and almost give me a tangible thing to draw a line under and say like it's done. And move on, I suppose. And it very strongly became that thing.
And how did you go about casting Christopher Sherwood? Because I imagine with this being your story, a personal story for you, you needed somebody who could do your story justice in the way you needed it, and as powerful as they could. And where did Chris come from?
I got really lucky with him. So previous short I made, I had an actress called Rosie Steele. And I've been wanting to work with her again for a long time, but this story obviously had to be a guy. So I just asked her, like, because she just at that point just done a couple of films and they were doing quite well in festivals. So I was like, okay, is there somebody you know that you met along the way? Because I think word of mouth is always a better way to find somebody sometimes than cold CVs or reels or whatever. So she just said this Chris was somebody that she had recently worked with, and just meet him. And then I kind of looked at stuff online, but not too much, because I wanted to actually just see how it was one-to-one, how we personally connected. And then just met him, and it was just an instant. Like I feel like, as I say, there's the power, and I feel like he just embodied that. I didn't even need to hear him read anything or see what he thought about the character and where he may take it. I just felt quite instantly comfortable being like, yeah, you're going to nail this. And I don't think I realised how much he was going to nail it until I was kind of sat down on like this dirty, grubby curb of Soho, and he just suddenly, it's the bit where he's on the phone, and he's suddenly like everything comes out, and I'm behind cameras trying to keep it still because this is really good.
Well, that was my next thing, because there you are now, but behind the camera, you've written your short and you've cast your lead, who is obviously you find him perfect straight away, and now you're watching him portray, in a way, not 100% exact, but in a way, you. How was that?
It was strange at first. I think during shooting, during shooting it wasn't strange because it's such a rush.
Right.
Of,
okay.
Like we've just got to get things done. We aim to do it all within like a day and a half, 2 days shoot. And it was winter, so we were when it was the daytime stuff at the end, it was a bit of a rush to get it done. The night stuff, at least we had plenty of night to play with, so that was fine. But I think all of that's going on. I didn't have time to really think about that too much. Plus, I think if I'd been directing only and if I had a DP with me or an operator or whatever, maybe I could have taken a step back. But the downside of kind of being your own like self-shooting director is that you're kind of focusing on, is it in focus? Is the composition right? And then is the acting right? And is the story all there? And really you want to only be focusing on the story. But I just felt like I needed to make this one myself, not for any particular reason other than just had no money for it. I just thought let's just do what I can do with it.
But as well, it makes it like it. Yeah, I like the fact that you did that as well, though. But then when you come to the editing process, is that kind of when you start realizing what you've got and what you've?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of layers to this because editing, and then as I was editing, Chris was sending me different recordings and tones of the voiceover in the poem. So I was starting to play around with how tonally that sits on top of everything. And yeah, I think absolutely there were moments where emotionally that was the thing that hits, and then you kind of go, oh yeah, there's a while where I was thinking, oh yeah, that's kind of meant to be me. And there's another layer to this. So even though I met him through somebody completely that I know, through Rosie, turns out Chris knew my ex-wife he used to be an account director at an advertising agency, and that's the world that she was in. And I found out later, after we finished filming, that he knew her. So when I said to him, do you remember that scene when you're on the phone? Like, technically, that's who you're on the phone to. So that was weird. And I think we both kind of just lost all the blood in our face for a little bit. But in a weird way, it kind of felt, or even that felt right. It was just strange,
absolutely.
Like, serendipity of like just everything's come together. And again, no hard feelings to her. It was nothing, none of this is attacking her. It just felt right that there was this little connection in a strange way.
You're dealing with those moments, those issues, those times. So yeah, makes sense. Now that I know that, it's like Jesus Christ. Let's bring it back up a little bit. But why do you think it's important that we tell these stories? Because we are getting a few short movies right now that are coming through that people seem to be wanting to be a bit more open about these situations, to talk about these situations. Why do you think it's important that we get them out there and we start having these conversations?
I think the good thing I'd say I've noticed the last 10 years or so, mental health in general has been far more vocal and people actually have conversations. And I think on top of that, men's mental health is even less discussed, but thankfully more so, but still needs a huge amount more. And I think that's the great thing with not just films, but any art form, anything creative. I think there are ways to express something personal that's happened to you. And as soon as you made it, it's no longer yours because you now put it out and now it's for other people to see and have their own, put their own story onto it. And then with mine, last year I wanted to do a little premiere for my film, having just finished it during last year. And so I wanted to do a premiere, but it's a 6-minute film, so it's kind of a bit odd getting everyone together and being like, let's watch for 6 minutes. But in the end, what I did was I kind of thought, well, actually, this men's mental health kind of aspect is something that is now what I care about within this. It's no longer about me or the story, the old story. It's about, as you say, like the bringing up the narrative of like why it's important to talk about this stuff. Yeah. So I ended up setting up a thing called Inside Man, which was a men's mental health evening where I played my film. I found 2 other short films, one documentary, another narrative one. Asked the filmmakers, do you mind if I can show this as on the night? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, great. And so I've had 3 films, 3 shorts, got 3 poets to come and do poetry, which is again about men's mental health. And then I got a doctor to come to actually talk about the kind of more heavy hitting stuff. Because I got up on stage and did a little talk. In the end, I think about 60 people turned up. We hired a space in Soho. And I did a little talk, but mine was from more like anecdotal, I suppose, more about my own journey. So I wanted somebody to come to actually talk about the real things. In fact, obviously with men, the percentage of suicide is just outrageous. So I don't feel right to talk about that. I needed somebody genuine. And I think the best thing that came from that, and the reason why it is important to have all these stories told, is that at the end of that night, there was a lot of people that I knew, some people I didn't, but both myself and the doctor experienced just guys coming up to us, having just seen the last hour of poetry discussion films, and revealed some really intimate, sometimes harrowing, sometimes just like very just vulnerable stories. Yeah. And they felt it was a space they felt safe to do so. And I was like, that's why I did it. Now, although I drew a line under for my story, this is now the main reason why I did it, and it needed to be done because this is a great story. And now the plan is I want it to become an annual thing, to not always film. I might do some different creative art kind of expressions, but carry Inside Man on so that there is this space that more people can open up.
Awesome. And I guess that sort of kind of answers my next question, is what you want people to take away from the movie when they walk out of the cinema and they've just witnessed a moment to go up on the big screen. What do you want people to come away thinking?
It is all of that. I think it is just wanting to come away that we can take away what we are in control of. Like, it's as much as we can feel lost sometimes. Things in our lives happen in cycles, because even the story is very secular. Like it can, by the end, you're now thinking, oh, actually, the people we lose are going to happen again tomorrow. Yeah. So even though that's the case, we can still go on a positive journey of hope. Yeah. And I hope that's kind of generally what they take away from it. And also, just I think, hopefully, people are able to put their own selves in it.
I think it's an easy thing to do. Like, see yourself up there. I know it's your story, but over the years I've had a few moments like that, and I could see myself up there, and it was a strange feeling while watching it. It was a strange feeling while watching it on my laptop at home when we were doing the selections, but then to watch it on the big screen, it was like, wow. And I says that's a lot about your story, but Chris's performance as well is just phenomenal. It's brilliant. Yeah. What's next for you? We're doing a comedy next?
They are. Oh no, one's not light-hearted. Crikey. I've got the other 2 short films I'm working on. I do have a feature that I'm kind of writing, but at the moment I'm enjoying making shorts because they're just such great ways to explore things I haven't done before. Yeah. Especially when it comes to whether it's technical or even just sort of subject matter. So there's I've written a short that's actually a dance piece. So it's going to be a very expressive love story, purely love story, with a slightly dark twist, but it is a love story. And then I've got this amazing choreographer who's helping me to kind of actually choreograph this lovely kind of dance that's very kind of, hope to portray everything really well. So that's kind of at the moment, we're just in pre-production, getting that there. And I'm just finished, I kind of, as I said, I'm not really a writer. So what I tend to be good at writing are the key moments, not so great at joining the dots or dialogue or something. A little while ago, I met a writer and we wanted to collaborate, and we've been sharing ideas. And so we just, he had a script that was kind of 90% there. So we just sat down and just like hammered it home and like got it finished. So that's another one we're working on, and hopefully that's going to shoot in end of summer.
But that's a note comedy then.
So that one's.
I want to see you do something lighthearted. I want to see something fun.
I think comedy does need to come. I do need to do comedy at some point. I just want to do all of them. I want to do comedy at some point. I want to do a musical. Like,
the thing is, as well, it's a very thin line between what you have done and comedy. You know, like it's two completely different disciplines, but it's not completely different, if you know what I mean. So I think you'd rock a comedy, to be honest.
We'll see. It's all just timing, isn't it? I think, and that's the thing when you're kind of good at timing emotion. Yeah. I think adding the comedy kind of element to something, and also the best comedy comes from some darkness as well.
Exactly. I think that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. when you kind of get pulled down somewhere dark, and then you suddenly make it, especially British comedy, make that little sarky comment during a really horrible moment. That's something to try. Definitely get there at some point.
Awesome. Well, we're going to start wrapping it up, but first of all, I would like you to tell people where they can find you on the social medias and whatnot on the internet, where they can find your projects, and basically just let people know where you are. Let them know.
Cool. So I'm mainly on Instagram, handles West of Matt, and my website is mjwest.co. Just .co, no .com, .uk, everyone seems to stop there. And then that's kind of a mixture of, on there I post my short films that I make, music videos, but it's also got like some of the commercial work that I do as like my day job, which is kind of a lot of the brand kind of films and things. So it's a little bit of everything on there. And
one last question. What's your favourite movie of all time?
You can't ask that. I have broad 5 I can give you.
Go on then. I'll take 5.
Right. And some of them are controversial. So Memento.
Nice.
Donnie Darko.
Nice.
This one, oh no. I need to look at my phone. I've got about 300 written on my phone, but there's 5 that 100% always kind of stick up top. But the reason I can never remember them is because I've got a terrible memory. So I Origins. All right. Even though it's only 10 years old or so, just that one, that gets me every time. I'm giving you 3. The Adventures of Robin Hood, the 1939 version with Errol Flynn. Just mainly because it's a great swashbuckler. Yeah. But also, as a little kid, summer holidays, I'd be sat on my grandfather's knee watching it because it's his favourite film. And I think I just ended up watching it about 100 times over the course of my childhood. And then the 5th will change all the time. Sometimes it'll be The Fall, sometimes The Village, like the controversial M. Night Shyamalan one. Really? I love that film. Really? Love it. Every time it's on, I'll probably watch that more than I've watched Donnie Darko and Memento, because those I need to be in the mood for. The Village, I'll rewatch every single time. How could you ever be in the mood for The Village? It's so good. I don't need to be in the mood because it gets me in the mood. I suppose. It has one of the sweetest love story moments of just when Ivy, the blind girl, has her hand held out, and then Joaquin Phoenix's character is it's like that. The soundtrack's just insane, and it's really intense. And then he never touches people because he's sort of you don't touch the person you love kind of idea. Grabs her hand, holds it, violins go off, they run down to the underground bit. Just gets me. Every time it's beautiful. I love that film. Then you realise it's on a nature reserve, and you're like, what? Yeah. I don't know. That's a controversial one. I don't know why he has to do that all the time. Sometimes it's just you know what? It doesn't need the massive twist at the end. But then did he not make one that he didn't put a twist in and everybody went mental? So can't win. Exactly. when you're M. Night Shyamalan, you can't win now. Exactly. That's now his MO, isn't it? You can't do anything else. Yeah. Well, Matt, thank you so much for submitting the movie to us. Thank you for letting us show it and putting it up on the screen. It's great to have you here. Cheers.
I lose someone every day. Not always loved, but always close. I live now with their hate. They've been a part of me, part of my life.